Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's episode review. This time we will be reviewing episode 46 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's, the duel between Nick Yagi and Sweets Kakako. And what did I think generally speaking about this episode? I liked it a lot. Another episode in Arc 4, another really well done episode. I thought the plot progression was great. There was something that I was a little disappointed about, so even though I liked the episode overall, and I think it ended on a really good note, I think that's what a lot of these episodes this arc have had in common. They've all ended on really strong notes, and I'm going to get to what I make of that ending scene, because I know that's what a lot of you guys probably want me to talk about. With the ramen guy we see in the preview, he's laughing maniacally, and only Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's can an old, senile man that seemed to have nothing to do with the main plot be potentially a major character in this story, the one who set this all in motion. And I'm going to get into my thoughts on that and some theories and, food for thought later on. But I do want to start at the beginning of this episode with the zombie duelists. It's actually a very creepy scene. We see Rook, Roman, and Gakuto on their way to confront Goha 66 at Maximum Mountain, where Team Yuga are doing more recon work. They're researching to see if anyone at Goha 66 is actually employed at Goha, and see if they can get any information from the database that Nail, who is a Goha employee, has access to. So I kind of like how they split off into teams, and they're both doing things equally as important, although I would argue that Rook and his friends in this case are putting themselves in way more danger trying to confront the villains, if you will, head on. But they come across this abandoned playground, which is creepy on its own right, and they see a bunch of kids that have been turned to basically zombie duelists. Reminds me a lot of the duel ghouls from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, if you remember those. And the only way that they can get revived is by beating Team Rook. At least that's what they believe. That's what they've been told by someone. I would imagine Goha 66 has to be the main culprit for this. I don't really understand why Goha 66 would be doing this. We don't really learn a lot as to motivation. We don't even have a definitive answer as to who did this to these kids and what the purpose was and why this even happened. So a lot of unanswered questions there. Very unsettling. And it's in the beginning of the episode, so it's kind of easy to overlook when you think about this episode. But I wanted to start with that because I still think that's going to be a pretty massive plot point, and to, brainwash and essentially kidnap the minds of these young duelists and these young children to get them to defeat Rook so that they can revive. Who knows if that's even true. A little sinister. Actually, very sinister. Whenever kids are used in any sort of plot, it's pretty sinister. So we'll keep an eye on that space, but it was kind of interesting how they didn't really touch on it later in this episode. I loved how the Mad Max Club, the Newspaper Club, and the Ramen Club all come to the aid of Team Rook. The Ramen Club end up escorting Team Rook to Maximum Mountain. They come across Sweets Kakako's lair, and we learn that Sweets Kakako is actually an underling of Goha 66. Something I theorized on the podcast Talking Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's Up a couple of weeks ago. I had a feeling that she was part of Goha 66, and it turns out that I was completely right about that. And I gotta be honest here. As this duel progressed, and I'm going to skip the scenes with the Machine Cavalry Club for now, I'll touch on them a little later on. Kind of just want to focus on Nick Yagi, Sweets Kakako, and what's going on with Sweets Kakako, because we get another Akko character at the end of this episode, and I'm sorry guys, but at this point in the story, I am 100% convinced that this is the same person. I am 100% convinced that Sorako, Finger Chikako, and Sweets Kakako, and now this other Akko water-based one, are all the same character. I'm not sure if this character suffers from short-term memory. I'm not sure if she remembers everything, which I have a feeling she might remember everything. What's really fascinating, and this is the one line that really stood out to me, and you could have missed it, but Menzaburo brings up Sorako when he's confronting her, and Sweets Kakako goes, "I don't know anything about a Sorako or a Chikako or anything like that." And that line is so telling to me because nobody mentioned Finger Chikako. Nobody mentioned the second alien that appeared in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's. The only character that Menzaburo mentioned was Sorako. In fact, all 6 of the characters that are there, the 3 Ramen Club members, as well as Rook, Roman, and Gakuto, shouldn't even know that Finger Chikako exists. So none of these characters should know that Finger Chikako even exists. And yet, without anyone bringing up her name, Sweets Kakako makes a huge error and mentions Finger Chikako. And this is not done accidentally. Everything that Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's does, we have to hyper-analyze, and that's something I love about the show. This was done intentionally, and I am a firm believer that this is the same character. It's the same exact character, and that's why when one gets defeated or one accomplishes their mission, in the case of Chikako beating Sebastian, they basically leave and they move on to the next one. I don't know what purpose this character serves. I don't know what goal they have as a character. I don't know if it's something that's just created by Goha 66, like an alien that's just created by them to do all of these things and they're able to reprogram them. But even at the end of this duel, which was a scene mirrored to the scene that we got with Menzaburo and Sorako, even down to the same music. Nick Yagi falling for Sweets Kakako, identically to how Menzaburo fell for Sorako. And Kakako and Sorako both showed kind of a mutual interest, in my opinion, before something happened where they had to go back to their time zone. Sorako, well, not in Sorako's case, she just had to go back to her home planet in the Mamen galaxy or whatever, in my opinion, made-up galaxy, she said. And then in this case, she has to go back to her own time zone, and you can see she looks a little uncomfortable and a little squirmish when she realizes her time is up and she's got to dip. Like she's done this before, and that's because she has done this before. She even had a line in this duel where she was like, I think it was after she lost, where she was like, oh, I thought I was going to learn from last time. Which has to be a reference to when she was Sorako and lost to Menzaburo. At least, that's how I took it. So, I believe that this alien character is the same character, and now she's going to be playing this underwater girl character, and that to me was something that I really wanted to focus on in this review. It's fascinating. What purpose do these aliens have? I don't really know, but I mean, let me know all your thoughts on her down below. I also want to touch on the duel. Nick Yagi was great, man. Nick Yagi was great, and the Ramen Club now has 3 characters that I genuinely enjoy every single character. I enjoy Sushiko, I enjoy Menzaburo, and I enjoy Nick Yagi. We really didn't know anything about Nick Yagi going into this duel, and I really loved how he stood up for Menzaburo, and I really loved all the, the grilling and barbecue references. And then at the end, listen, I'm a sweets guy, I love sugar. At the end, the great barbecue chef that he is even acknowledges the enticement of sweets and why sweets are so appealing. So I kind of like that as well, because people are very set in their ways when it comes to food, but I think there's so many different types of food that can be appreciated even if you maybe don't like them. So I really like that aspect of Nick. Just seeing him get fired up and summon that ace. I've been saying for a long time that if I could create any archetype based on anything, it would be a wolf archetype. And so seeing this ace, this beautiful wolf with, I think, shish kebabs, was incredible to see. Probably my favorite ace monster that we have gotten in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s thus far. I mean, the duel was quick. It wasn't anything particularly special. Yagi summoned a bunch of monsters, Kako beat over them, and then Yagi beat over them. Quick 3-turn duel. I knew it was going to be a pretty quick duel based on when the duel was starting. But I really like Nick Yagi's character, and seeing him fall in love with Kakako as she had to abandon him, and then Menzaburo, what a bro moment, putting his hand on Nick Yagi's shoulder with not even saying any words, just saying, I get it, man, I get it. I thought was hilarious. It was hilarious, and it was such a great callback to something that happened 30 episodes ago, and that's the one thing that, again, I love about Sevens. You can hyper-analyze everything in this show, and the writers don't forget about it. It's almost guaranteed to be brought up and picked back up on at some point or another. We all thought when Sorako left Menzaburo's side after that duel in the second arc, we were like, all right, she'll be back. And we might not see, quote-unquote, Sorako back, but the character that's playing her, which is the same character playing all of these aliens, in my opinion, is going to be around and going to be pretty primary in the story. Machine Cavalry Club was great. Something that I did not love about the episode, the threat level of Goha 66 has completely collapsed. They are literally just a bunch of boomers who hate kids, we don't really learn anything more than that, and it's made up of 66 older men that are, I guess, tired of the corporate world or tired of the injection of youth in the corporate world. I really don't know the motivations here. I don't really understand it too well. And I was a little disappointed based on that because the 2 scenes we got of the Goha 66 leader, he really seemed threatening. He really seemed chilling. And then in 2 minutes, they kind of just erased the threat level of Goha 66. So we'll see. I mean, maybe they'll be really good duelists. Maybe they'll be threatening in some other regard, and they'll have these comedic aspects, but they'll still be pretty vicious. I mean, if they were the ones that brainwashed these kids and turned them into zombies, that's a pretty vicious act. So we'll see. I haven't lost full hope on Goha 66, but seeing Asana and most importantly Tiger interact was incredible. My favorite moment had to be when they called each other those nicknames. Asuchi, I'm pretty sure that's what Tiger called Asana, and Asana called Tiger Haruchi, and if anyone else called Tiger Haruchi, they're probably 6 feet under the ground. They're probably in a grave. But Asana is able to do it and doesn't even get a reaction out of Tiger. That makes me convinced that there is a deep friendship and a pretty deep past between these 2 characters, and I am so excited to see what the backstory between these 2 girls are. 2 of my favorite girls in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, 2 complete powerhouses of characters, and knowing that there is a past between them and probably a friendship and probably a very large amount of respect for one another, I think is phenomenal, and they are leading the charge here against Goha 66 alongside Caterpillar, Schwer, and Galleon. So I'm sure we're going to get more of the fallout from that. But all in all, I loved seeing Tiger and Asana interact. And then the final thing I have to touch on is the maniacal Ramen Man. In the ramen shop, there is the legend that got all of this started about becoming the king of duels and finding the path. And that's what eventually got Rook and Yuga to meet Otis in the first place. And that same lore is hanging up in this ramen shop. And when Roa goes to confront the old man about it, we see the old man shaking, but not answering. Yuga looks pretty shocked, and then the episode fades to black. What an end to this episode, man. What an end. The big theory that I've seen is this is Otis. The Ramen Man is Otis. I do not believe it's Otis. Different voice actors, I don't believe it's Otis. However, I do believe that it's someone very closely tied with Otis. We know that Otis wanted to find Yuga, and this is ultimately what set Yuga on that path. So I think this is someone who maybe used to work for Goha, someone who is maybe closely associated with Otis. You want a real crack theory? The voice actor who is playing the old man actually voiced a character in GX. He voiced Darkness, and he voiced Truman. One of my big theories in Arc 5 was that Darkness was orchestrating everything. I thought Darkness was going to be the final villain. Because remember, as Darkness said at the end of GX, he never truly goes away. As long as there is doubt, as long as there is despair when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh!, he will always be there lurking in the shadows, waiting to rise again. I thought him being an Arc 5 final villain would have been phenomenal. I don't think it's going to be Darkness, obviously, but if you want to get to the crackiest of crack theories, there you go. The same guy who voiced Truman in Darkness in GX is the voice of this old man ramen chef. Something I never knew, but something that's being pointed out now that it seems the motives of this guy have completely shifted. Has it shifted in an evil way? Has it shifted in a trying to establish Rush Duel's way? I don't know, but it's fascinating that this team keeps breaking in the ramen shop to talk about Otis and to talk about Otis's plans. We just saw it in the last episode or 2 episodes ago. And this guy who probably sent them and got the ball rolling on this has just been listening and observing the entire time. I'm going to have to go back and look at all the conversations that Yuga and his friends had in this ramen shop, knowing now that this old man chef is someone way, way different than any of us in our wildest dreams and theories could have imagined. But guys, I am really rambling on. I knew this was going to be a long review because of how loaded this episode was, so I'm going to wrap things up here. If you are not sick of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's discussions, every Wednesday night live stream on this channel, 8:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, talking Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's up, make sure to catch it. It is the #1 watched Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's podcast in the world, and that is thanks to all of you. Thank you guys all so much for listening to my thoughts on 46. And a special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, XLayer64, Brandon Gomez, and TenjoKogamiZaizen, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, and Anime Kaput, and to my Egyptian God tier patron, XZ's Lover 104. Thank you so much to everyone who supports me on Patreon, and to everyone who is a YouTube channel member. You guys help me out tremendously. I'm on Twitch, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. Links for all that will be down below. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you in the comments, and I hope you have an amazing day.